Hello everyone, welcome to the third lecture for the course Mathematic Modeling and Simulation. So in this lecture, we will see the basic method of dimensional analysis as well as we will see the Buckingham Pi theorem for dimensional analysis. So we will begin with the basic method. Now for this, consider an example of elementary mechanics, that is a free fall of a body in a vacuum. So we know that the speed which is given by v of a falling body is related to what? Is related to gravitational acceleration and the height from which the body is released. So if we talk about a functional expression, we can say that v, that is the speed, is equal to some function of gravitational acceleration and the height from which the body was released. So this is height and this is gravitational acceleration. Now if we talk about the physical dimensions of these three variables, this v has a dimensions of L divided by t. This gravitational acceleration has a dimension. This denotes that I am talking about, the big bracket is saying that I am talking about the dimensions of the variable. So the dimension of the gravitational acceleration is Lt minus 2 and the dimensions for h is L, that is length. So now we can observe that the time dimension t appears only in the speed and the gravitational acceleration. This one is speed, so we can observe that this time is appearing over here and in the gravitational acceleration. So if we divide the speed by the square root of g, then it will eliminate the time and yield the quantity which is entirely depending upon the length. So if we want to write this mathematically, so if we divide this speed, dimension of speed, with that of dimension of g, say, so this is L and this will become, sorry, this the dimension of v is Lt inverse, right? So you will find that we are getting the dimension as the left dimension as this, which is nothing but equal to under root of h, right? So we can write it as v is proportional to under root g into h. So thus we got this relationship that v is directly proportional to g into h, that is we will say that the speed is equal to some constant into under root of g into h. Now you can see how powerful the dimensional analysis is. You didn't use any of the physical laws or any other principle of mechanics to deduce this formula. You just use the dimensional analysis to get the relationship among the variable. So this is how you can say about the power of the dimensional analysis. Now you have already seen that the basic method does not follow any formal algorithmic structure. Right? There is no algorithmic structure, but we have seen that there are few steps that we need to take. That is, first step is we need to list all the variables and parameters. Like in this case, we have listed all the variables and parameters involved. Then we need to make an prediction about how increase or decrease in one parameter or variable increases or decreases the other. Then we identify one variable as depending on the remaining variable, like we have done, like the speed is depending on g and h. Then we need to express the dependence in the functional equation, we have done. Then we need to choose and then eliminate one of the primary dimension to obtain a revised functional equation. In this case we have removed the primary dimension t, and then we repeat step E until a dimensionless functional equation is found. Then you can finally review the final dimensionless functional equation. So if you talk about this function, you can see that under root g by h dimensionless function. So this is how we can derive the relationship between the variable without knowing any underlying physical properties or any other principle of mechanics. Now we will see structured procedure of finding the dimensionless group. So let us see what is this Buckingham pi theorem. So this pi theorem tells how many dimensional group define a problem. So let us see the theorem statement. It says that if n variables are involved in the problem and these are expressed using j primitives dimensions, then n minus 1 dimensionless group are required to characterize the problem. Now what does this mean? If we talk about the previous example what we have done, we see that were three variables. What are the three variables? V, H and G. So if we have three variables and we can see that these were having j primitive means what? I have already told you that there are 7 primitive dimensions. In my lecture 2, I have told you the seven primitive dimensions. So we have to see how many primitive dimensions these variable have. In this example, we have two primitive dimensions, that was L and T. So then it says that there is only n minus j, that is 3 minus 2, that is one dimensionless group are required to characterize the problem. That means that we will get only one dimensionless group, that we have already found out that V upon G by H is equal to 1 is the dimensionless group that is required to completely characterize the problem. Now if we introduce a Buckingham pi notation to represent a dimensionless term, so this pi is not the pi that we use for finding out area. So this is not that pi. It is a pi which is representing a dimensionless term. So this theorem says that if there are many dimensionless groups, suppose that in this equation we have only one dimensionless group, suppose that if we have 2 or 3 or 4 dimensionless group, then if we have to, then pi 1 it will be equal to some function of pi 2, and if we have three dimensionless group, then one dimensionless group can be written as a function of other. Yeah, I think this is clear, and similar way it is a journal representation that one dimensionless group is written as a function of other dimensionless group, or equivalently we can write in this way. So this is the Buckingham pi theorem, and it follows certain steps. So now we will see the steps involved in Buckingham pi theorem. So the first step is list the parameters in the model and count their total number. So if we talk about our previous example, there were three parameters. You can say variable V, G and H, right? And then we need to count the primary dimensions or primitive dimension. So there were two primitive dimensions, L and T. Then what we have to do, we have to calculate k, which is equal to n minus j. So this is n, this is j, and then we need to calculate k, that is 3 minus 2 equal to 1, and we need to choose j repeating parameters. So j is equal to 2. So this means that for constructing pi, how we know that how many pi's will be constructed? From here, from k. So we know that only one pi will be constructed, and this will be having two repeating parameters, right? What are the repeating parameters? You can consider it as G and H, right? So if I will write G and H. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to find out the exponent a and b. Like for v, we have dimensions as lt minus 1, and for g we have dimension lt minus 2 to the power a, and for h we have dimension l. So and pi 1, since this is a dimensionless group, this is dimensionless, right? This is dimensionless. less, so this will be 0. Like if I write L to the power 0 and T to the power 0. Now if you compare both the side, you will find out the value of A and B. Now after finding out the value of A and B, if you put in this equation, you can say it as equation number A, you will find out the similar relationship as we found in the example. So finally you can check the functional relationship and check your algebra. So this is another way of finding out the relationship between the variables without knowing the underlying physics or the principles of mechanics. So we will look another example for this. If we consider a pendulum example, so the variable here involved is time, the gravity, length and mass. So you can see that here n is equal to 4. N means the number of variable 1, 2, 3 and 4. And how many primitive dimension? You can see that we have time involved, length involved and mass involved. So our value of j will be equal to 3. So what will be the value of k? This will be equal to n minus j, which will be equal to 1. So how many dimensionless group will be formed? There will be only one dimensionless group. So that will be pi 1. So you can find out pi 1 as a functions of others. So then what we will do, we will let this pi 1 is equal to t L to the power A, G to the power B and M to the power C. Now see why I have taken only these three, because we have J is equal to 3. So we have to take only 3 variables as a repeating variable. Repeating variable means that if you found that J is equal to 3, then you will put 3 variables where we have the power of some exponents and the other remaining variable will be written as it is, right? So from this we are getting the information like, okay, we will have only one, that is pi 1. We don't have to find out pi 2, pi 3 and so on. It is giving that only one dimensional group will be there and we have to equate it with j is equal to 3, means there would be 3 variables with the power exponent and the remaining variable will be multiplied with it. Now these are obviously a, b, c are to be determined, and so in terms of dimension if we write, we can see that this black color represents the dimension. So this is the dimension of time, this is dimension of length, this is dimension of gravitational acceleration, this is dimension of mass. Now since pi 1 is dimensionless, so this will be equal to m to the power 0, means that this is not having any dimensions. So if you see this, I can write this as equal to this, and now you need to equate the two sides. So if we see that we are getting 3 equations, now from here if you solve, you will see that you are getting b is equal to half, a is equal to minus half and c equal to 0. Now if you put all these values in the equation number a, if you put the value of a, b and c, you will get the desired relationship between the variable. You haven't used any physics, just you use the power of dimensional analysis to find the relationship between the variables. Now we will consider another example. It is a problem of the ball falling in a vacuum. So you can see that this is a ball which now if we want to do the dimensional analysis, we have to see which variable depends on which variable. So if we talk about the elevation, that is denoted by z, elevation of the ball, it depends upon 4 parameters or 4 variables, that is time, w naught. W naught is what? initial vertical speed, z naught is a initial elevation, and g is a gravitational acceleration. So we know only these things, nothing more than that. So now we will see how we can use the Buckingham pi principle to get a relationship among the variables. So for this, it is obvious that there are 5 parameters, so n will be equal to 5. So now what we have to do, we have to find out the primary dimensions of the parameters. So if you see that my z is representing the elevation, so this will have the dimension L. This big bracket is denoting the dimension, and the dimension of the t will be time. Dimension of w naught, that is the speed, will be equal to this. The dimension of z naught will be equal to L, because it is a initial height, and the dimension of g will be equal to LT minus 2. So these are the dimensions of the parameters involved system. Now the next step what we need to do is that we need to see how many primitive parameters. So count the primitive parameter. You can see that L and T are the only primitive parameter. So we have n, that is the number of variable, is equal to 5, and number of primitive dimension is equal to 2. So if we subtract these, we are getting 3. So what does this mean? This means that we have 3 dimensionless groups. And what is this saying? That j is equal to 2. So j is equal to 2 means we need to choose 2 repeating parameters for all 3. Like there will be pi 1, pi 2, pi 3, because it is saying that we are expecting 3 dimensionless group. So in every dimensionless group there must be 2 repeating parameters. So what are the 2 repeating parameters? This is the main problem for this Buckingham pi theorem. So there are few tips you can follow, like for choosing those repeating variable. So this says that never pick the dependent variable. So in this case, if you choose z, that is depending on w naught, z naught, t and g, so you will not pick this z as a repeating parameters. Now the chosen repeating parameter must not by themselves be able to form a dimensionless group. So we cannot choose z naught, and z is obviously cancelled out from the previous. So we cannot choose those groups like those repeating as a repeating variable which has the same dimensions. Or you can see the fifth point, that this also says that never pick 2 parameters which have same dimensions, or the dimensions that differs only by an exponent. So we cannot choose w naught and g also, because the dimensions are only varying with the exponent. Now this is also an important, that the chosen repeating parameter must represent all the primary dimensions in the problem. Now if you look at all these guidelines, okay, if you read all the guidelines, you will see that the wisest choice for the repeating parameter will be w naught and z naught. So you can see that the dimensions of w naught is LT inverse the dimension of w naught, and what are the dimensions of z naught? It is equal to L. So now in step 5, what we need to do, we need to combine these repeating parameters into product. Now what is this saying? That I have already told that these are the, we have chosen these as the repeating parameters. So we have to write like this example contains 3 dimensionless group. So we are finding, first we will start with pi 1. So we will write this pi 1 equal to, take one of the any other parameter, because you know that this problem contains function f, like z is a function of w naught, z naught, t and g. So you can see that we have chosen this and this as a repeating parameters. So we are left with what? We are left with t, g and z. So we will go one by one. So first of all, I have written z into w naught exponent a1 z naught to the power b1. Now here also we will write the dimensions. So the dimensions of pi1 is this, because it is dimensionless, and the dimensions of z is l, the dimension of w naught is lt inverse, and the dimension of z naught is l. Now you need to equate the exponent to find a1 and b1. So if you see the time exponent, you will get, if you easily you can equate with t and with l, you will find out a1 is coming to be 0 and b1 is coming to be -1. You can easily equate and see. So then when you find out a1 and b1, what you will do, you will put this in equation, you can say star, right? You can put this equation in equation star, and you will find out pi1 as z upon z naught. Similarly, we will find out the another dimensionless group, that is we will name it as pi2, which will be equal to, these two are repeating, right? This we will use another parameter because z is already used, we are left with what, t and g. So now we will choose this t, and these are two repeating parameters. So again we will write the dimensions. So dimensions of pi2 is this, and then we will write dimension of t is capital T, dimension of w naught is this, dimension of z naught is this. So if you again equate the exponents, you will get a2 as 1 and b2 as -1. Now again what you need to do, you need to put the values of a2 and b2 over here, and finally you will get your second dimensionless group. Now in the similar way, what you need to do, you will find out the third dimensionless group. Now you will put g into the repeating variables to the power a1 a3 b3, and again you will find out the dimensions of all these parameters, and then equating the exponents, what you will get, you will find out that you are getting a3 as -2 and your b3 is coming out to be 1. So again putting this a3 and b3 over here, you will get the third dimensionless group given over here. So in the last stage, you will double check that all the pi i's are indeed dimensionless. So these are dimensionless. Now we are finally ready to write it in the Buckingham pi theorem form. So you can write it like this, as I have already told you that I can write this as pi1 as a function of pi2 and pi3. So this is my pi1, this is equal to a function of pi2 and pi3. So this theorem is very powerful because it describes the relationship between the parameters. Now if we want to make an overall conclusion, so method of repeating variables, or you can say Buckingham pi theorem, properly indicates the functional relationship between the dimensionless group, but we cannot predict the exact mathematical form of the equation. So you have here see that we can describe the functional relationship, but exact mathematical form of the equation is not known, or we cannot predict, but we can have some idea about the relationship. Now there is one special case, like what will happen if this comes, this means that there is no relationship, so it is not right. So if this cases arises, then we have to do the following things. So first of all, check your parameter list. Maybe you have missed some list of parameters, and then you need to check your algebra, and if everything is okay, then you need to do what, you need to reduce j by 1. Like if even if it is coming equal to 0, that you have checked that okay, all the parameters are listed, all the algebra is correct, but still you are getting 0. So now what you need to do, you need to reduce j by 1. So let us do one example for this case also. So you have this problem that some children are playing with the soap bubble, and you become curious at the relationship between the soap bubble radius and the pressure inside the soap bubble. So you reason that the pressure inside the soap bubble must be greater than the atmospheric pressure, and that the shell of the soap bubble is under tension. You also know that the property surface tension must be important in this problem. And again, not knowing the physics, you want, or you decided to approach the problem using dimensional analysis. So now what you have to do, you have to establish a relationship between the pressure, the soap bubble radius r, and the surface tension, you can say sigma s, of the soap fill. So for step 1, what you need to do, you need to find out the number of the variables and the constant in the problem. So as you can see that there are 3 variables, that is the pressure, the radius, and the surface tension. So we have n equal to 3. Now what we need to do, list all the relevant parameters. So here I list it like this, that the pressure will be a function of these two. Now what we need to do, we need to write down the primary dimensions of each of the parameters. So if I write the primary dimension of the pressure, this is equal to m, and if I write the dimension of the radius, this is equal to l, and if I write the dimension of sigma 1, this is equal to mt minus 2. Now we will go to the step 3. We will count the number of primary dimensions. So as you can see, the primary dimension is m, l, and t, right? So there are 3 primary dimensions. So what we have to do, that we have to find out k, which is equal to n minus j, which is coming out to be 0. Now how can it be 0? So something is not obviously right, that we can think for the first time that okay, we might have made some mistake. But as we know that we have included all the things, okay, and we are very confident that the pressure difference should depend only upon the soap bubble radius and the surface tension. What we need to do, that we need to reduce the value of 1. When you are very confident and very sure that whatever you are doing is right, now the next step is to reduce the value of j by 1. So if you reduce the value of j by 1, so previously it was 3, now it will be j equal to 2. Now if j is equal to 2, then what will be the value of k? Our value of k will be equal to 1. Okay, so which is much more realistic than having 0 pi's, right? So now our only choice will be pi 1, which is equal to delta p into r to the power a1, and you can say that to the power b1. This is the radius and this is the surface tension. So since j is 2, we only have to write the exponent above the 2 variable, and 1 will be left like that, since this has 3 variables. Okay, so what we will do, since j is 2, we have reduced j from 3 to 2, so we will write down the exponent only above the 2 parameters. Now what we have to do, we have to equate the dimensions on both the side. So if we equate the dimension of pi 1, again it will be m0, l0, t0, because it is a dimensionless quantity, and the dimension of delta p, this is a pressure, so I will write it as m l inverse t to the power minus 2, and l, because dimension of r is l, to the power a1, and dimension of surface tension will be m t minus 2 to the power b1. Now we have to equate the exponent. If you can see, I can write the exponent of m as 1 plus b1, and if I write exponent of l, this is l, a1 minus of 1, and if I take t, this is minus 2 b1. So equating it both the side, what I will get? I will get 1 plus b1 equal to 0, a1 minus 1 equal to 0, and minus 2 b1 equal to 0. So this gives you b1 equal to minus 1 and a1 is equal to 1. So again, what you have to do, you have to put the values in this equation. You can call it as equation number b, and if you put the equation, the value of b1 and a1 in equation number b, you will get pi 1 is equal to delta p into r divided by sigma s. So in this case we get only one functional relationship, so which is equal to constant. You can write pi 1 as delta p into r sigma s is equal to constant, because there are no more pi's, so this will be equal to some constant. So you can write delta p is equal to constant into sigma s by r. So again, you can see that without much knowledge of physics, see, you can find out the functional relationship between the variables and parameters. So this was all about how to find out the dimensionless groups without knowing the underlying theory. So I will end this lecture over here. Thank you.